Hey y'all, welcome to the Honesty Circle, the safe space to discuss growing in adulthood, mental health, faith, and all the things in between. It's your host, Sierra Elise, and I hope you're taking care of not only your mental and spiritual, but your emotional and physical health so you can be your best self this week. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Honesty Circle. It is me, your host, Sierra, and I have a wonderful guest here today to share more about herself, and I'm just so excited for this episode. So I'm gonna let Omega share about more about who she is, what she does, and kind of really talk about what makes her her.
Yeah, hi everybody. As she said, my name is Omega. I firstly am a marriage and family therapy intern and also a podcast host. I am the host of Love Galore. You can go check that out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Um, Beyond that, I am a daughter, a granddaughter, a niece, a girlfriend, dog mom, best friend, all of those things to a lot of different people here on earth. And I think what makes me is probably just my personality, my love for people, and like just my love for the way that we engage with each other in community and trying to better that and help us all as a sense of that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And since you're an intern, I know you're getting your master's, correct?
Hmm.
What is your actual master's in?
Yeah, I'm getting my master's in marriage and family therapy.
Okay. Um, what kind of led you into that? Like, kind of what sparked that for you?
Yeah, so I started out at UNC getting my bachelor's degree in psychology, and I was actually a part of a clinical psychology lab where I was working on anxiety and OCD, mostly within like Black college populations, was the research that I was a part of. But that professor who was over that lab actually had guest speakers come in and just talk to us about the field of therapy and like just kind of what that looks like for us and what different possibilities we might have. And one day he brought in an MFT, and I just kind of fell in love with like what they were saying. For me, psychology kind of delved into like the mind and just mental health overall, which was really good for me. But I also had like a love for social work in a way, just because it talked about like the resources within your community and how those can help with mental health and how we all have that inner working together. And so once I found MFT, it just kind of blended both of those worlds in a way that helped me to understand how our own mental health can be impacted by the relationships we have and vice versa. And so I definitely wanted to explore that more. And now that I'm in my program, I feel like this is my sweet spot. Like this is my place. So it works out well.
Oh, I love that. I love hearing people when they find that thing that just like makes them spark and like light up. It's just like super exciting. So
Yeah.
we can jump into our next segment called Inner or Outer Circle. So it's basically this or that. Things that you like are in your inner circle, and things that you don't like would be in your outer circle. So our first inner or outer circle will be music or podcasts.
Oh, that's such a hard one. Okay. Y'all don't hate me, but music is my life. So music got to be my inner circle, and outer circle would have to be like a podcast because I feel like I could get the same thing from kind of just like YouTube and watching people kind of watch their life. But I cannot go a day without music. Like it just speaks to my soul and gives me a lot of like release. I used to dance, so I absolutely love that. And music is just kind of part of my life. So yeah, music in circle.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So next one is book or movie
You said Booker, which one?
or movie.
Mm, okay, so I would definitely say that book is now in my inner circle and movie would be in my outer circle. I cannot remember the last time like I actually went to the movies for a movie.
Fair.
So, yeah, so book is in my inner circle. I've gotten like some really great recommendations lately and I've been rocking with my books a lot more.
Okay. So this one is in an inner outer circle, but what color is in your inner circle or colors plural?
Colors in my inner circle would be probably like purple, pink, and red, like those.
Mm,
I really, really love those right now, and those kind of stand out for me a lot. And if I'm gonna wear anything, I probably have red on and black, between those two.
mm.
So I would say that's around there. Those are my colors.
Okay. And skirt or pants?
Where are we going? But
Okay, so that's a good one. That's a good one. Where we're going. Let's say it's an occasion which you can wear both. So like whatever, it can either be like a dress pant. It could be like a dress pant or skirt, not like jeans or skirt. So like to say kind of the same level, you know?
okay, then I'm definitely going to say skirt is in my inner circle. I'd rather
Okay.
wear that than dress pants.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I will throw on a dress pant quick. A pantsuit, please.
Yes.
I
I
can't with the
think
skirt.
for me, I think it's just about the way that they flatter my body. So, like for
Mm.
dress pants, I think maybe like a flare leg, just because I'm short. So it's like it looks a little different and weird. And so sometimes a skirt is just a little bit easier to kind of make the outfit flow for me. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think too, one thing I'm learning more as an adult is finding it's not just about the item, but also about the like shaping of the item. So like skirts, I had to
Hmm.
find what skirts like you said, flatter your body. Like I used to try to wear these little fitted skirts and I'm knock kneed. So like I couldn't walk. Like
Yeah.
so it's like finding the more like flowy and like midi and like things like that has helped me like, okay, I'm okay with skirts now. But before I was like, absolutely not. Was not a skirts
Yeah.
person at all. So
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, that's all for that segment. We can jump into this episode. And this episode is really going to be about love. February is the month of love in general. It's also my birthday. So just plug that there, the 28th. Y'all better tell me happy birthday. But it's also the love month. And all this is going to come out after why say Thanksgiving? After Valentine's Day. Is still in the month of love. And I want to kind of delve into that topic with the love specialist, as I like to say. You're the love specialist. So, okay.
Okay. Period.
Okay, so how do you define love?
I define love as an action, as words that we say to each other, as an expression of emotion, as an emotion. It can be so many different things that we experience that just kind of gives us a feeling of comfort and warmth.
Mm,
And so I think love is like kind of an all encompassing thing because there's so many ways that you can experience it, but it does provide that warmth and care for you.
yeah, that's good. What would you say kind of helped shape that definition for you? Like, is it through your life? Like, is it this something that is a new experience, or you kind of just always knew this feeling of love is warmth and things like that?
Yeah, I've kind of always known that, but then also understanding the opposite of it kind of
Mm,
helped me understand that as well. And kind of a little bit of the downsides that can come with love as well help you understand that. And so you just kind of build on the great experiences, the not so great experiences, the moments where you felt loved by someone or not so loved by someone else, and then being able to understand what that looked like for you, how you process that, and move forward with that. So for me, it was just encompassing all of those experiences, all of those times where I was like, oh, I think I love this person, or I absolutely am not completely in love with this person. And what does that look like for me?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think all of those just kind of added up over the years.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what is your love language? I like to ask people their love languages.
Yes, so I think my top two love languages have to be quality time and words of affirmation. I love spending time with people. We ain't even got to do nothing.
Hmm.
So I love just being able to be in people's presence that I love and like feel like I'm getting that experience of love back from them, as well as words of affirmation just make me feel like that girl. So I think that's more of a internal type of love language that I just have a
Hmm.
special affection for. I love just giving myself words of affirmation as well as others because you never know what somebody's going through throughout their day. So being able to affirm them and like give them love through my words really makes me feel good.
That's good. Um, so kind of in that same vein, you kind of answered it, but how do you think your love language differs between like different relationships, whether that's like platonic, romantic, familial? Because I know for me, I've noticed that like physical touch and anybody else besides romantic is just not giving for me
Mhm.
personally. And so if you ask my boyfriend, he'd be like, no, she loves physical touch. But if you ask my sister, she's gonna be like, no, please don't do that. So do you find that for yourself too, that you're kind of, they float differently, or they kind of just consistent across the board for you?
Yeah, of course. So I think it does float differently. My man would probably say the same thing. Like quality time, maybe, but like physically touch, she always cuddled up under me. Like that girl is not moving. But I definitely think that it comes into the dynamics of your relationship and like kind of the boundaries that you set up with people, and that informs our love languages. Just because like the way that you are in a platonic relationship versus a romantic relationship is very different. And so
Right.
you set up different boundaries with those individuals in different ways that you interact. And so it becomes easier to function in certain love languages than the other, and that's where different people would be able to say a lot of different things about us, just
Yeah.
because I may not have the same relationship I have with you that I have with another friend or my mom or my man. Like all of that is very different in the way that I like care for those individuals and show them my love. So
Yeah. So how would you say that love has, like, the power of love has really shown up in your life? You really said that kind of earlier, how it gives you that level of warmth or something like that. So what have you said, or how can you say that that power has kind of changed or shown up in your life? As what, yeah, if it makes sense.
yeah, so I would say that the power of love has shown up in a few different ways. It can show up in like a strong force of support and happiness and care, but it can also show up in destruction sometimes. Like I am very true and very real to the fact that like love can make you do some crazy things. For
Hmm.
me, like one of the crazy things that I think I've done is like I moved to a whole new state, not knowing anybody down here because I love my boyfriend, and like our relationship was important to me and I wanted to be able to move forward with that. And so that was very interesting for me, but it's also very different within the dynamic that I have with my own like family. My dynamic with my father versus my dynamic with my mother, and the way that I see love in them is very different because I most of my life spent with my mom. My parents got divorced when I was like 11, so it changed the way that me and my dad actually like interacted. And now hearing him say he loves me and we get to have like a relationship is very different. But it shows the power of love because I continue to love him, continue to care for him, continue to want the best for him always. But I know that there's like a different dynamic in the way that I love him versus the way I love my mom, just because like she
Mm,
stuck that out. Like,
yeah.
she stuck
Yeah.
out the hard years where I was like a teenager who couldn't understand why they just couldn't figure it out. And when she stuck that out for me, it showed me just how much she cared for me and really, really wanted to be there for me. And so I think the power of love gives me insight into like who people are for me in different ways, and also
Mm,
how I can show up better for them. Um because love can be a crazy drug, and like people can do some crazy things for love and to go against love and to feel loved or to chase love. So it just has a lot of ways that it impacts and imprints on people and their relationships. And I think that that comes back full circle for me as I look back on my life. Only 24, but as I look back on my life
look
so
back,
far,
look back.
yeah.
That's good. So, I mean, obviously, we talked about this in the beginning a little bit when you introduced yourself, that you have a podcast called Love Galore. I would
Mhm.
love for you to go deeper into that, kind of explaining why, because that's really why I talked to you, why we're asking all these questions about love is through that platform that you have built. So, if you could talk more about that, of kind of how that got started for you, and we can go from there.
Yeah, so I'll start by just telling y'all what Love Galore is. Love Galore is a podcast focused towards young adults, more so like that zillennial crowd. And I think I say zillennial because I want it to be relatable to both like millennials and Gen Z, because I feel like there is a sweet spot connection there, especially with the way that we work in love and relationships.
Hmm.
But through this podcast, I am amplifying, exploring, and celebrating all types of love that we experience in young adulthood. And with the podcast, I want to be able to share my story and the stories of other young adults who are a part of this community that is trying to navigate love. And I think a lot of times we firstly think about finding your romantic partner when you think about like young adulthood and love.
Mhm.
And while that is a great experience and it's something that we do go through in this stage of our lives, it's not the only thing that's changing about the way that we see love in relationships. Our relationship to our family is changing because now they have to see you as an adult, and you have to set up new boundaries with them. You have to set up new ways of communication, new ideas of what it means to be with them. Your relationship to yourself is changing because you're learning how to be an adult. And so you're learning that, like, okay, maybe some of the stuff I thought about myself when I was in high school might not have been true. And like
That part. That
we
part.
have to
That
go
part.
back and figure it out. And so for me, it just makes it a little bit easier for us to navigate those different situations when we have a platform that allows us to talk about that, especially even with friendships. Like, now I don't live in the same state as any of the friends that I've made my entire life. And so, like, what does that look like for me as a young adult and still having love for them? Like, I noticed that two of my friends actually ended up being in the same city for New Year's Eve, and I'm still in this other state. And so I was like, wow, this is so different. Like, because we all used to live in the same state, and I would never miss a day with them or, like, a big outing with them.
Mhm.
But now that we're in different places, it becomes a different thing for us to navigate. And so I wanted us to be able to have a place and a platform to share those stories, share our feelings, share what that looks like, and figure out how we can do it in a healthy way, that doesn't destroy families and doesn't destroy love and relationships, because like they're describing us as the loneliest generation out there. Like,
Yeah.
that's not okay. The Bible lets us know that like we are meant to be in community. So how can we be okay with being the loneliest generation? Like, that doesn't work for me. And so I
Mm-mm.
felt like it was my God-given design, God-given purpose to be able to come in and talk about love and relationships with people who are going through it with me right now. And so yeah, that's what Love Galore is and what it's doing.
Ugh, I love. I'm also, I don't know if you know, but I'm also a like love advocate. Love, like I love love in all aspects. And
Mhm.
I think that kind of similarly in the journey of growing older, I would say more in kind of college a little bit of realizing that like love goes past romantic love, and once you fully like wrap your head around that, you'll realize like how much more your love just outside of just that lack of or presence of romantic love. And I think my ideas as a child was like, oh, only romantic. Like that's the only type of love. Like, yeah, you love your family, but that's just whatever. But when you
Mhm.
finally kind of grow in that, it's just a beautiful thing to really see what areas in life you're actually loved in. So that's good. So
Yeah.
one of the avenues that you talked about in one of the episodes or one of your episodes, the number first one, I loved about like divine love. So I always think that's like the first stepping stone. I love that that was your first episode. Truly because I think that like God is love, right? That is
Mhm.
that. And I think that that's such a great stepping stone. But I also think the next step is your self love, right? So talk
Mhm.
more about like your self love journey, and how you've grown in that, how it's changed, how it's developed, and all those kind of aspects.
Yeah, so I absolutely love this question. I started off Love Galore with a self love lens series. So we spent the month of January focusing on us. But as you did say, I started out very first episode called The Ultimate Love. And if you haven't, go ahead and check that out. What I'm talking about in there is the way that you can have self love through your love with Jesus Christ. And it's just about that spiritual component of self care and being able to really lean into that. And for me and my own journey towards self love, that was like my building block. I needed to be able to find my foundation in who I was in Jesus Christ before I could figure out how I was going to love myself past that. And I don't think that if I didn't do that, I probably would be so much further behind where I am now in my self love journey. Also, I talk about in that series self-love in black skin and what that looks like.
Mhm.
And for me specifically, if you didn't listen to that episode, yeah, I share some really interesting things within that episode where I'm just kind of talking about the ways in which I used to like combat some self-hate that I was going through being a darker skinned girl or a brown skinned girl and not having like lighter skin, fairer hair, all of those things. And I think if it were not for my foundational love in Jesus and knowing that I am his daughter and he loves me regardless of what anybody may call me, good or bad, here on this earth, that he loves me regardless and he loves me in the ultimate fashion. And that being a foundation for me allowed me to open the door to loving myself and
Mm.
allowed me to open the door to loving all of my flaws, loving all of my problems, loving all of my mistakes. Because if I am still worth him sending his only son for me, like, there's nothing that anybody else should be able to say on this earth that could get me to fall away from that, including myself. And so
Mm.
once I
That's
got to,
good.
yeah, once I got to
Including
that point,
yourself. Mm.
once I got to that point, I just knew that like I had to take it more serious about the way that I love myself. And I did the work. I went to therapy. I figured out all of the things that I felt like I was battling that were making me not the best me. And I figured out what I was going to do to work past it and be better.
Mhm.
Um, and that also helped me love myself a little bit more just because I recognized that I was worth the work. And when you
Mm.
recognize that you're worth the work, you make such a difference in your own life. Like, I feel like a lot of times we chase careers, we chase life paths, we chase all of these different end goals that could have been so much better. Like, you know how they talk about how, oh, you'll end up with all of the things in the world, and you'll have worked hard for all these things, but you won't have anybody to share it with. I think
Mhm.
about that on the same level of myself. And so, like,
Ooh.
if I get to the end of life and I've done all of these great things and I'm wonderful and I'm sitting there on my deathbed, but I'm like, you still secretly like hate it yourself most of the time. You
Wow.
still
That's good.
secretly, yes, you still secretly talk down on yourself. You still secretly made yourself feel like your accomplishments were not worth it.
Mhm.
Is that really what you want to do? Like,
Right.
you'd want to look over and see this family that you've created and you love and had, such an immense gratitude for and awesome experiences with. So why do you not want that for yourself? And it just was a wake up call. It's time to like care for me. It's time to make sure that I love me so that I can show up the best way that I can for my family and for my friends, my community, my future kids, like all of those things. And so I did the work, cared for myself, and I'm still learning like what that means, especially like navigating a job, navigating, uh,
Mhm.
doing new hobbies, navigating, trying to figure out life and like what the federal government wants from me and requires, like, just like different
Yes.
stuff like that. And so it can be overwhelming, but you've got to learn to trust yourself and you got to learn to trust in your ability to be the best person that you can be for you. And so I gave myself that grace and I'm still learning how to give myself that grace.
Mhm.
Um, but I love it. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world because if I hadn't gone through the tough times, I wouldn't be here to be able to talk about it and tell all of you about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. You were saying a lot there. I think what stuck out to me the most is when you said that realizing that you are worth the work.
Hmm.
And I think that's such a powerful way to view yourself. And because we work for everything, like everything in life takes work, right? We
Hmm.
know that people, like you said, they work hard in so many areas and aspects, but it's like you're not going to do that same effort for yourself. You're doing it for everyone out there, but you're not going to do it within. And so that's powerful. But I also think that's part of adulthood too. It's like it's learning these things. It's learning what it is you want, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to show up for yourself, how you want to show up for others. And it's just a beautiful journey, like you said. And it's a journey because like you never like complete it. Like it's never like, oh, check like the checkbox of I've loved myself and that's it. Right.
Hmm.
It's a continuous journey into now, into our 30s, into our 40s and 50s, and like consistently. And it's always going to be something different and new that we're learning. So I think it's beautiful. So Talking about that, how do you currently practice self love?
Currently, I would say I probably practice self love the most by doing like just some self care. If you if you follow me on TikTok, y'all saw it there too. I be doing like little crazy videos where I've decided that I'm gonna go on this like self care journey to be able to do all of my maintenance stuff. So like makeup, hair, nails, all those different things. I'm trying to find like a sense of style that matches. I'm gonna be 25 in May, and so I'm like it's time to like step it up. It's got to
It's
give
time for us
grown
to
and
go up
elegant.
here. Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it's got to give grown, elegant, sexy, all the vibes. And so
Mm,
I'm like, all right, I got to figure out what that means before I get there. And so I'm taking the time to like kind of figure that out now, figuring out what I like, what I don't like, and just using that as an opportunity to incorporate like my quality time with myself.
mhm.
Being able to like say words of affirmation to myself while I'm driving to work or driving to my internship. Spending time with myself doing things that I really care about. Like what I'm thinking about doing right now is going back to do dance classes. I did it a little bit
Ooh.
last year. Yes, and I absolutely loved it. It was a great time, but I don't do it often, and like I get these spurts to have new hobbies, and so I'm trying to leave myself enough space to do that, to learn new things and not lock myself in so much. But just trying something new once a week, or like trying out a new restaurant, trying different things that I want to do, crossing things off of my list, places I want to visit, people I want to meet, stuff like that. Just to be able to pour back into myself so that I can pour the best of myself back out to
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. And then when you said like quality, like spending quality time with yourself, I think that's something that I've been learning too,
Hmm.
where it's like how I like to receive love from other people. How can I do those things for myself? And not like in that exact exchange way where it's like, I want to hug, but, and I'm going to hug myself, like not the exact same way, but in a sense
Hmm.
of like, acts of service is something that I love, right? It's one of my love languages. It's one of my top. Okay, so how can I do acts that my future self or my current self are very happy and pleased with? And sometimes it's things that I don't want to do, but I know that my future self is happy. So one thing I hate to do is laundry, but I've been trying to, okay, what act can I do for myself? This is an act. And reframing how I see certain things and saying this is an act of love, right? Love for my
Yes.
space, love for myself, in doing those things. And so I think that's very helpful. And to anyone listening, when you're thinking about how you want to pour into yourself, like think about what your love language is and think about how you can turn that back inward to yourself. I know I saw on like social media at one time, they had like a list of things like if your love language is like, physical touch, right? Taking a hot shower, having a warm blanket, putting on cozy pajamas, like although it's not an actual touch, but it's things that are on your body so you feel it. And so I would say just think of it in that way. If you're ever listening to this episode, whoever's listening, kind of think about that when you think about how you could pour into yourself. So that was
Yes. And
beautiful.
I also, on that point, I would definitely say, like, and this is me getting a little scientific here, but it's about like your habits as well. So think about the things that you already do throughout your day, and then think about what type of reward connects to that for you. If you're the type of person who like you need instant gratification to just kick that up a notch, go ahead and figure out how you're going to insert instant gratification into that reward for yourself. And so say it's like for me, I know I was having trouble trying to pick up a habit of like reading my Bible daily. Like I want to start doing it at the same time. Just develop some like devotional time that's
Mm-hmm.
specific for God, so I'm not just like cramming it in last 5 minutes before I go to bed anymore. Reading a couple verses on my way somewhere, like while I'm waiting, which I still do that type of stuff, but I want it set time. And so I decided that I was going to couple that with like my morning coffee. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember being like, wow, my morning coffee is like just a great time for me to take care of myself and sit here and relax before the world gets chaotic. And I was like, well, it would be the perfect time for me to incorporate like reading my Bible. And so I read my Bible and have my morning coffee. So I'm still getting that amount of love and feeling those senses of what I need out of like gratification and reward from that, and it makes it that much better for me. And so it's kind of like that thing you're saying about like figuring out what an act of service to your future self might be. Sometimes people have trouble like connecting to their future self. So if you need instant gratification in that moment, definitely figure out how you can tie maybe 2 or 3 different activities together and see how that works.
Yeah, that's good too. So we're talking about kind of like all the positives of love. What has been like a hard part about love for you? And kind of when you've gone deeper and thought about it on more.
Yeah. So hard part of love. I think a hard part of love for me is when it equates to loss.
Mm,
Um so for me, like, I've been through a lot of different things where like you lose love. Maybe when my grandfather passed away, I graduated and moved away from my friends, or either my parents got their divorce. Like, those are all times where I felt like I was losing love in a sense. And so it just wasn't going to be the same way that I was used to. And in reality, it's just change. Like, change happens, change is inevitable, and it's a part of the life cycle. It's a part of like life. If we don't change, we die. And so we get to a point where we have to recognize that like to love means that one day you will inevitably lose something.
mm,
And so what does that look like for you, and how are you going to navigate that? And I think it's about figuring out how to channel your love in a positive way through that loss.
mm,
So I decided to channel my love of losing my grandfather into like doing this work, being able to be a therapist one day who helps families work through grief and work through those life changes. Parents who divorce, being able to work with kids who are going through that, being able to help
mm,
marriages stay together or figure out how they can amicably separate or work together for whatever it is that they need in the future. And all of those different things allowed me an opportunity to see that while love is like such a great and powerful and beautiful emotion, it can also be some of the most jaw jarring and like heart stopping stuff that you have to
mm,
just kind of deal with and figure out how to still channel in this really really great emotion that you feel, to feel them both at the same time and to work through it, and work through what that means for you and how it looks for you, and know that it doesn't have to look like anybody else's. Like, you
yeah.
don't have to work through love and loss like anybody else on this world does. You just have to do what kind of works for you and take it day by day and figure out how that loss impacted the way you're going to love moving forward, because I think it's naive to say that it won't. Like,
Yeah.
it's naive to say that I lost something and I loved it very very dearly, but I'm going to be okay and I should be perfectly fine and I shouldn't have any extra trauma from that. But that's just not the case, because if it was ever truly love, love is something that joins us. Like, God showed us that in essence in the Bible, like all the time. Love joins us in his covenants. He shows us love joins us. So to lose love is going to form separation, and you have to know how to work through that separation to get to the other side, to still be able to join with others and experience love.
Mm, that's good.
Yes.
Let's switch to a positive note before we close out. Um, what has been a happy memory of love for you in your life?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. A happy memory of love for me, probably in the height of COVID when we graduated. um, my family still did everything they needed to do to let me know how proud of me they were and how much they love me. My family is the type of family like, we know that when these big things come up, we are going to go all out. And so
Mhm.
they had been planning our graduation party, well, like my graduation party, um I want to say probably 2 years in advance. So like once I became a sophomore, they're like, okay, what do we need? How do we do this? Where you want to do it at? Do you want to do a trip instead? Like, what is that gonna look like for you? And I was like, y'all, I'm barely making it. Like, this school stuff is beating me up. Like,
Literally, literally.
so I was just like, this is insane. And so when COVID happened, I was just really like taken aback because we lost a lot of things. We lost like how we were going to be able to do all of our traditions at UNC and being
Girl, we
able to
still didn't
go
get
through.
ours. That's still a sore spot
Didn't
in my
get none
heart.
of it.
Still sore spot
Right.
on my heart.
Right. So they knew that I like was without all of those things and that I had missed a lot of different stuff that I really wanted to be a part of and do.
Hmm.
And so they made it extra special for me, and they still at our house with just like the 5, 6 main of us that are in my family. We still had like a little party. They got me pizza, got my favorite cake and ice cream, signs in the yard, all of the things. And then after we did end up having graduation, they presented me with the trip to Las Vegas, and I was like, y'all, oh, because I had
Oh.
been saying I wanted to go. I was like, I'm grown now. I should be able to go to Vegas. Like, this would be a great time. And I thought we were going to go as like a whole family. They were like, no, you and a friend can go to Vegas, have a great time. Like, just, live your best young life. Because it's my grandma and like my aunt and my mom. And so they're a little bit older. And they was like, you really want to go to Vegas with us? And I was like, yes, yes, I do. But, them being able to like see that I needed that break and see that I needed time to breathe and just explore and be me and still be celebrated because I had done something pretty big. Like to get a
Hmm.
college degree is really big. And so me being able to do that and them show up for me even when the world was kind of telling them no. Like
Hmm.
we can't do that was really big for me. And so I really just genuinely appreciated them and all their love for me and everything that I do. They gonna support. Now, my mama, she gonna support. Like she watching my episodes every week. She be one of the first ones. Hey girl, saw your episode. It was really good. And I'm like, thanks. Why are
Oh.
you watching that at 8 o'clock in the morning? Ain't you at work? Like so yeah. But yes, I love her so much for that and her support and her love. And they just continue to show up for me in whatever way they possibly can. So yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Um, Thank you so much for this episode. You shared a lot, but also for sharing yourself. So, like sharing about things that you know and tips for other people, but also kind of your story and how you've gotten here today. So, to close out the episode, we do a C's 2 cents where we share kind of like advice or thoughts or kind of last minute things for our listeners. So, if you want to share the C's 2 cents for this week.
Yes. Okay. So since we're talking to young adults, I want to urge you all to find balance in love. Find
Mm.
balance in the way that you love yourself, you love God, you love your family, you love your friends, you love your romantic partner. Find balance, whatever that means to you. So don't allow that to become jumbled and you leave certain parts out of your life. Find balance in love and make it work for you in your life.
That's good. That's a good one. Y'all can take her advice or not. That is just her 2 cents. Thank you so much, Omega, for joining the episode today. And thank everyone for listening to this week's episode. If you like anything that you heard, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I also will make sure that I will link Omega's podcast as well, so you can check that out in the comments and also or the description. So please make sure you follow both of us. I know my Instagram is at the honest circle with the underscore at the end, and yours Instagram is
At Love Galore Pod.
awesome. So make sure you follow both of us. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day and go conquer your week. Bye, everybody.